Hey guys, welcome to the third part of this Londoners read along. Today we're going to be reading chapter 6, 7 and 8 of this little book. Stay until the very end and you will know the name of the person who's going to win this annotated copy, plus other prizes for the people who registered for the read along. Let's go ahead and go to chapter 6. Which is about life, what it means to be Londoners. Once you've settled, you've got to live your best life. Don't make it all about work. And that's a very good advice. Do follow it. London has so many things to offer, it would be a shame not to take advantage of being in one of the busiest cities on the planet. There are so many concerts, theater, exhibitions, dance floor. I mean, you cannot be bored in a city like this. Culture shock? What culture shock? Coming from Belgium, the UK isn't that different in many ways. Both are European countries. Both have the same kind of weather. The big difference is that they speak English, whereas I'm a French native speaker. It's pronounced Leicester, not Leicester. Yeah, because I used to pronounce Leicester to say Leicester. A friend joked one day, Edinburgh, not Edinburgh. If you're French, you know it. God, why? Why do they spell a word with so many letters only to pronounce half of them? It's so incomprehensible. And that's so hypocrite of me, because we have like silenced H in French. Like in Ibu. There's an H in there. On the topic of British food, I had some fun experiences. Pizza with salad on top, for example. And that's also so hypocrite of me, because down the road there's pizza with fries on top. I mean, I guess everyone is weird. Shepherd's pie, which isn't a pie as I would understand it. Also, why are the British so fond of having crisps right before their lunch? Are they having apéro every day? So weird. But London is so cosmopolitan that the shock wasn't as big as it could have been. British people aren't as cold as they let you think they are. They have a great sense of humor, even though I never quite understood it. Hello, John. However, Quentin enjoyed it so much, I believe him. And they also love going to the pub to relax after work, which I wasn't used to before. Oh, and they don't kiss to greet people. No one did, really. Not even expats. Which is totally fine now. We're in 2026. We had the pandemic in 2020, and so nobody kisses anyone on the cheek anymore. I was completely lost the first time I met Quentin's friend, Greg, a Russian black-haired guy he used to work with. In Belgium, you kiss someone on the cheek once, whether you know the person or not. And in France, it's even weirder, because according to the region, you kiss somebody on the cheek multiple times. So I froze. How did he like to be greeted? Would I be making a mistake if I kissed him on the cheek? I ended up doing nothing. Greg, if you're reading this book, now you know why I was so weird the first time we met. Anyway, people usually prefer hugs rather than kisses on the cheek. If they are good friends, of course. Don't hug your boss or a total stranger. It would be super weird for the both of you. Relationships can either thrive or fade away. Believe me, I learned that lesson the hard way. There's a French expression saying, far from the eye, far from the heart. It means that once someone moves away, nobody thinks about them anymore. Britons have a contrasting expression, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I personally prefer the latter. It's much more positive. However, I do believe that you truly see relationships for what they are once you live far away from each other. We'll visit you for sure, said approximately every single person we knew. A lot of people, both friends and family members, told us they would come over and visit us. At first, we were excited. We were planning to take them in, happy to show them where we lived, where we worked, where we went out, and so on. But they never came. After a while, each time we saw them in Belgium, we would simply nod at their promises, knowing it would never happen. I already mentioned that London is only 2 hours away from Belgium by train. However, for most people, it's the far end of the world. When we were saying goodbye to everyone before taking the leap, I felt like it was the end of something. A couple of months later, I found out that one of my oldest friends had gotten married without telling me because they thought I wouldn't be able to make it. So they didn't even bother inviting us. It broke my heart into 1,000 pieces, still to this day, because that person was my best friend. But I understood deep down that maybe our relationship hadn't been meant to last. But hey, I'm not saying all relationships are doomed because you move to another country. I miss you, my granddad said. I was visiting him for the first time since the move. He was on the verge of crying when he said it. Believe me, it wasn't easy to make my granddad cry. And the thing is, I loved him so much. I miss him every single day. On the other hand, my mom, who I am close to, never said she missed me. She often joked that I was the daughter she had the most contact with, even though my 2 sisters were both still living in Belgium. And one of them was living with her. That tells everything. That's when I understood the extent of the impact of being an expat. You can't be at every birthday, wedding, or gathering, but you can still think about your family and friends, talk to them every day, and be there when it truly matters. Making new friends. Okay, Estelle, but how about making new friends? You may ask. Well, that's a bit tricky. I often hear people complain that it's hard to make new friends. At a certain point in life, people are so busy with their lives that they don't bother making new acquaintance. When I started in London, I didn't know anybody, except for Quentin, of course. I was so lucky to have him. So what do you do when you want to meet new people but are shy as hell? You go meet your boyfriend's friends, of course. I remember going to one of Quentin's friends' birthdays. We had met him and his new girlfriend earlier when we went to see a photographic exhibition in central London at the Photographers Gallery in Soho. I didn't know what I would say because I didn't know them. What if they thought I was stupid? So I kept my mouth shut for most of the day, just listening to what they were talking about. And then the birthday dinner came by. I was sitting in front of the new girlfriend who, I found out, didn't know anybody either. She was a student at the London School of Economics, LSE. We started talking, and it was like we had known each other forever. That's how Justina came into our life. She's one of the kindest people on earth. She's always smiling and has always a kind word for everyone. She's from Lithuania and loves traveling. She's been to so many countries already that I wonder which ones are left for her to discover. She has become one of my best friends, even though I eventually moved back to Belgium and she stayed in London. She's now in Austria. I also went to a couple of writing meetups. You know my love of writing by now. I just wanted to find people who share the same interests. And Rebecca, a freelance editor and author coach, organized one event that I found particularly interesting. As someone who's super shy when meeting new people, I just had to sit down and listen to the short lecture. What I was dreading, however, was the 10 minutes before the speech because we had to introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Estelle, student in creative writing at Brunel University. I'm here because I love writing. Welcome, Estelle. Welcome, Estelle. I always thought it sounded like an AA meeting, Alcoholic Anonymous. At one of these meetings, I met John. Hi, John. I'm sure you're going to watch this video, so hi. A London-based indie author in his 50s, and he still has to visit me in Belgium. We became friends and writing buddies. He is, without a doubt, one of the most interesting people I know. He knows so many things on so many topics, like a walking encyclopedia. His kindness helped me a great deal when I was struggling with my job hunting, when I had to fill in my first UK tax return, and when I was looking for a place to stay. I'm glad to say we're still friends, even though we don't live in the same city anymore. I forgot to mention that he is a prolific author. Check out his interview on my channel. I'm going to put a link here in the description for you. And you can look him up, John Pullen Writer. I'm going to also put a link to his website down below because he is just an amazing author. People say it's difficult to meet other people these days, and it's true. If it wasn't for this Meetup group, I don't think I would have met John. That's why you need to get out there. Volunteering gives you a purpose. To meet other people, but also to improve my English skills, I volunteered for almost a year at the Ministry of Stories in Hackney. This is a charity that offers writing workshops to children in the area. They also had a small shop called High Street Monster Supplies, which is a special sweet shop. Once someone enters it, your role is to tell stories about the many things that the shop offers. As a storyteller, that was the perfect place for me to be. Not only did I learn about how to manage a shop, but I also improved my English a great deal. 6 months in, I was more confident and I knew a couple of other volunteers. Emily, the shop owner, helped me out with my university applications. Andre, whose shift was usually at the same time as mine, had his birthday on the same day as me and was the best cupcake baker in the world. I remember the delicious days when he brought some of his baked delights to the shop for us. After a while, I became a story mentor. So that means that I visited a local school and helped children write their school play. Of course, it was scary at first. Being surrounded by native speakers that age is somewhat terrifying because I was scared of making any mistakes that would be mocked. But it was so rewarding. Seeing their motivation and happiness when we came to their class and worked on their project was all I needed to move forward. My most vivid memory of that experience was when a boy came over to me after the session and told me a couple of words in perfect French because he wanted to let me know I was doing okay as a mentor. His mom was a French speaker and had taught him the language when he was little. I was so surprised that I couldn't say a word, but I was thankful to him because it helped me become more comfortable teaching and helping the kids, knowing they weren't that different from me. I will forever be grateful to the Ministry of Stories for taking me in. I can't remember volunteering enough if you feel alone in a new city because you will meet people and gain a sense of purpose. It definitely helped me. Happiness is just around the corner. And there's one memory I will always cherish about our first flat in Islington. It was my 28th birthday, so August 2016. I had come back home from my internship at the little e-commerce in Walthamstow, and Quentin was already there. I could smell delicious fragrance from the pasta carbonara he was cooking, the Italian recipe and not the cream one. I had received a huge bouquet from my colleagues and some great gifts from my family. At some point in the evening, I was sitting at my desk in the living room, and Quentin walked in as he would usually do, except that he was now kneeling in front of me. "What are you doing?" I exclaimed. "You know, there will never be a good time for this," Quentin said. And tears stung my eyes. I knew what he was about to ask. "Will you be more than just my girlfriend?" And the lore here is that when we started dating, he asked me, "Will you be more than just a friend?" So that's the lore. Yes, and I cried my eyes out from joy. I know it sounds cliched, but it's just like in the movies. My heart was racing and I couldn't help but think, is it really happening? I couldn't believe my eyes or my ears for that matter. And when he took the engagement ring out of his pocket, oh my God, such happiness. We are still married to this day. Okay, chapter 7. Brexit. I know that some of you have been like waiting for that kind of chapter. And yeah, let's hear it. They voted out. Yeah, unfortunately. A small disclaimer before I start babbling on about the B word. I'm not a political expert in any way. Britons voted leave on the 24th of June 2016 and effectively left the European Union on the 31st of January 2020. It took a while. I just happened to be in the UK during the referendum and a significant part of the negotiations with the EU. And what you're about to read, well, to hear, for that matter, is my perspective, memories, and opinion about the whole thing. So without further ado, let's talk about Brexit. I hadn't paid attention to the campaign leading up to the referendum in June 2016 because from what I had heard, Europeans living in the UK couldn't vote even if they wanted to. Brexit was all about Britons giving back control of their borders in particular, because as everyone knows, foreigners are taking all the good job. From the bubble of my social media window, it seemed I didn't need to worry. Remainers couldn't lose the vote, right? It sounded impossible. The morning of the 24th of June 2016 will forever leave a mark. I looked at my phone just as I was waking up. My eyes shot wide open and panic rose in my chest. I reread the text message from my friend Justina. Next to me, Quentin was still half asleep. As soon as the meaning of the message reached my brain, I shared the news with him. It was terrible. They had voted out. What does it mean for us? I asked. 51.89% of the people had voted to leave the European Union. It was a close result, but enough. So the Prime Minister, David Cameron, who was broadly speaking pro-European, resigned to let Brexit, so the choice of the people, happen. Enough so I would feel rejected by the country I had moved to a year before. Enough so that everyone had but one question on their lips. What's next? Nobody knew. And least to say, that was a freaking mess. After the result, journalists reported many stories of racism. Just because someone had a foreign name or a different skin color, they were shouted at to go back home. It was pure, unadulterated racism. As many of those people had been born in the country, the UK was their home, and for many of them, their residency status didn't depend in any way on the EU. These stories were terrifying. I guess I'm lucky to have been born white. I'm lucky not to wear any visible religious signs. I'm lucky my face didn't have foreigner written all over it. Walking the street was still safe for me. I measure my privilege for not being part of those stories. Having succeeded David Cameron, Theresa May triggered Article 50 in March 2017. This meant the beginning of the withdrawal procedure from the EU, and the British Parliament agreed to it. From an outsider's point of view, it looked like a bad dream from which everyone would surely wake up soon. Theresa May started negotiation with the EU, apparently without asking anyone's opinion on it. The agreement she had worked on would be rejected 3 times by Parliament. This resulted in Brexit being pushed back a couple of times. She eventually resigned in July 2019 and was succeeded by Boris Johnson, former mayor of London. And Brexit had many consequences. Between June 2016 and July 2019, Europeans and Britons alike didn't know which way to turn. For many Europeans living in the UK, the fear of the unknown was almost unbearable. Many left the country. We did too. The British economy slowly crashed. We had arrived in 2015 when the pound sterling had been strong And after Brexit, all salaries dropped in value. The UK wasn't an El Dorado after all. It wasn't the country I had thought it was, free, strong, and majestic. We still found interesting and challenging jobs in London, but London isn't the whole country, even though you could think it is if you live there. There was, however, a solution for Europeans living in the UK: citizenship. After 5 years, you'd be able to get it by filling in forms and proving your residency in the country for the past 5 years. Did Brexit influence our decision to leave the UK? Certainly. However, saying that Brexit was the main reason for our departure would be a lie. Quentin and I had already been thinking about our next move as a couple. More on that in the next chapter. Brexit got pushed back one more time to the 31st January 2020. What a good timing! Just in time for the pandemic. But this time it went through for good. A sad day for us as expats. It is March 2020 as I'm writing these lines, and I still can't believe that a country such as the UK decided to leave. The racism and bigotry shown by a few has destroyed the place of the UK inside the European Union. Through lies and broken promises, some politicians and journalists have achieved what they wanted, but at what cost? Only time can tell. And when I hear the politics now on the international scene, it's already worse than Brexit. If you're watching this video in 2026, you know what I mean. Chapter 8, Moving Back. Going back to our roots. I've never felt much of a patriot. Before I even considered moving to the UK, my opinion of my home country was fairly low, to say the least. It was the beginning of my career, the beginning of my adult life, and I was struggling. But once I moved out of Belgium, I started feeling proud of my little country, proud of the culture and food, proud of the people. After 4 years in the UK, I finally understood what it was to have roots. It gave me a sense of community I hadn't really had a grasp of before. However, Quentin and I had built our lives in London. We had found a good place, jobs, and amazing friends. How could we possibly want to move back to Belgium? After we got married in October 2017, we wanted to move on to the next stage of our life together. Buying a house, crazy expensive in London, and starting a family, which we were sure would cost us a kidney, and I wouldn't have wanted to do it without my mum by my side anyway. Some people can afford buying a house and having a family. It would be sad otherwise, but we didn't think we could. Another reason was that I wanted to spend time with my grandparents. They had moved to a new house closer to my mom, so she could take care of them. However, they were getting older by the day. And the thing is, I lost both my grandma and my granddad a few months after we moved back. So, yeah, I'm really glad we did move back. But you know us by now, don't you? We were still considering moving elsewhere and maybe to another city in the UK or to another country altogether. I was pushing for Belgium though. In my heart, it felt like the best decision, going back to our roots. By early August 2018, we had made up our minds. Let's move in a year's time, we agreed. I had the perfect plan. I would train myself until January, learning Dutch and Google Ads. Then I would update my CV and covering letter and start applying for jobs. On his side, Quentin had a high chance of being able to keep his London job. He did end up keeping it for 1 more year after we moved. And actually, he still works for UK companies now, so there you go. In mid-December 2018, I came across a job opportunity. A Belgian company near Brussels was looking for a content manager. I applied right away, but never thought I would find a job that easily. They set up an interview a couple of days after my application, and I remember I was recovering from the flu when I talked with them for the first time. I finished a writing test on the train back to Belgium for the Christmas holidays and got the final interview the very next day at their office. They offered me the job on Boxing Day 2018. After everything that had happened and the struggle I endured to find a permanent role in London, I was stunned. It was all going so fast. We had planned to move back in the summer, but they wanted me to start as soon as possible, and that is in March 2019. I'll have to tell Richard, I panicked. How could I do that to him, to the team, to the company? I felt so sad and ungrateful for the chance they had given me. And Richard and the team had become my family. I dreaded their reactions. It's a big company, they'll get over it, Quentin said. And he was right, of course. I handed in my resignation on the 7th January 2019, as soon as I sat at my desk back from the holiday. Can I talk to you for a second? I texted my direct manager, Michael, a tall Australian guy. I could see on his face he was expecting what I was going to tell him. He was just waiting for the wave to hit the shore. We sat down together in the office kitchen. I looked around, thinking about how I would miss these colorful chairs once I was gone. My husband and I have decided to move back to our country, and I got a job offer, I explained. And because we had a project and were progressing towards completing it, my colleague's reaction wasn't that bad. My last day was quickly determined, the 7th March 2019, and I was turning yet another page in my life. And actually, I have a funny thing to say, is that up until my last day at my London job, Richard kept calling me Judas. Yeah. For those 3 months, he called me Judas, but that's because I was his first hire, and he was so sad to see me go. He was so sad. So, yeah, that was his way of saying, hey, I care for you, and I will miss you. And that was kind of cute, now that I think of it, but at that time I wasn't that pleased with that nickname. We announced our departure to our London friends as soon as I resigned, telling them that the move was happening sooner than we had thought. Hugs were involved. No tears, though. We knew better. When you're an expat in such a big city, you know it's only for a set period of time. You create strong bonds with other expats, but you know deep down that they're going to leave. You also know that with today's technology, you'll be able to nurture those relationships wherever you're going, if you truly want to. But we weren't starting over. Our close family and friends were super happy to welcome us back. No way. You tell me. And we already had a place where we could stay for a time until we were able to buy our own house. We do have our own house now. So how did we move back? Remember that at the beginning of our adventure, Quentin and I had crossed the Channel Tunnel with one suitcase each. Needless to say that after all these years in the UK, we had accumulated things. Not a crazy amount of though, because when you move houses a lot, and we moved pretty much every year, you tend to Marie Kondo your life. If you don't know, Marie Kondo is the creator of the KonMari method, a system of simplifying and organizing your home by getting rid of physical items that don't bring joy into your life. So I rolled up my sleeves and checked exactly what we would need to carry back to Belgium. The furniture was out of the question because Brexit was about to happen precisely at the moment we were supposed to be moving. So back in March 2019, we didn't know it was taking another year. We didn't want to take the risk of renting a van and getting stuck at the border. We should have, though. I would have kept my mattress. So magnificent mattress. Anyway, I realized we had way too many things. The books, for instance, were so heavy and there were so many of them that I panicked. We'll never succeed. How are we going to make it? I cried. We'll find a solution, don't worry too much, Quentin said, consoling a tiny Estelle huddled up in the corner of the sofa. Am I the type of person who worries a lot? Oh, definitely. But fortunately, we had family coming over in January. We gave them as many books as possible to carry for us. I will always remember the look on my sister Ellen's face when she saw the huge bag of books she had to carry on the Eurostar. We sold the rest of the furniture by advertising them on Facebook groups. Bit by bit, our London flat was being emptied while our Belgian place was getting furnished. My mom visited us in this period of limbo. The only thing that had changed was that I would be going back with her with a lot of suitcases. It wasn't as sad as when we had crossed the sea to come to a foreign country, though. This time we were going home. While I was getting used to Belgian life, having started a new job on the 11th of March 2019, I had barely a weekend in between the two jobs. I do not recommend it. Never again. If you are in between job, please at least take a week, not a weekend. It's too short. Quentin was still in London preparing for the transition. He was living with less and less furniture while getting out of the house as much as possible not to see the sadness surrounding the place. He finally moved back to Belgium a month after me. We had to register as residents again. Even though it was our birth country, it doesn't mean we were exempted. A year before us, it had been the turn of Sophie, who was now my sister-in-law. It's incredible how slow the whole process is, she had explained. They're not prepared. They're silly and incompetent. You'll have to wait for hours before they finally understand what they have to do to register you back in their files. Even though I was dreading doing it, I had to do it anyway. The sooner the better. Having reached the town hall of the Belgian city I was now living in, I entered and queued for 5 minutes. It was a tall grey building I hadn't seen in ages. The whole process of registering me back in the Belgian files took 5 more minutes, and the neighborhood officer came to check that I was living in the new place 1 or 2 days afterward. Wasn't so bad in the end, I thought. It's a particular feeling when you end an adventure. We had achieved so much in the 4 years we had lived in the UK. Those 4 years will certainly leave a mark in our hearts for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Oh, you're back! Where did you go? Quentin's grandma would say when we visited. London, Grandma, he answered. But did you speak English? Some things never change. And now, the conclusion. Every adventure has an end, or has it? I never thought I would live through such an incredible experience. Living in a foreign country taught me a lot. How to live with someone, how to dream big, how to never give up, and how to open my mind to different cultures. London was undoubtedly the perfect place to be. Everything the world has to offer was gathered in one city. I loved my London life. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it in a flash. At the beginning of our adventure, our biggest fear was that we would come back to Belgium and end up living as if nothing had happened, then feel stuck again. If you had asked our moms, they would have said that they would feared for us wandering off. Living in London, in a city where nobody knew us, was like living in a bubble. Expatriation means you've got to start over, make new friends, and build a life. Our Belgian friends and family had become a lifeline, which we came back to when we were feeling homesick. Quentin and I had both achieved so much during those 4 years. We struggled and won together. It taught us we could count on one another more than we had ever known. Our experience opened doors to many opportunities on a professional level. Having London written on a CV made it easier for us to get new jobs in Belgium. It showed that we had gone outside our comfort zone to seek the best experience. We have now come back to our home country. The difference this time is that we have chosen this life. I think this is important to mention and to highlight that word, choose. Not only had we chosen to leave, but we had also chosen to come back. This is a pretty powerful thought. I had taken Belgium for granted during my whole life before I left. Being an expat opened my heart to my country, something that wouldn't have happened before. I had felt so lost. But once you choose to live somewhere, you do it freely. We are now living in a 2-story house near our families. The place is gigantic compared to 42 meters square London flat. We even have a garden. Coming back to Belgium allowed me to spend some time with my grandparents before the end, which is time I'll always be grateful for. And now it's up to us to start our own family. Our son was born in May 2022. Life in Belgium is a bit different, but not that much so. We have come back to our families and we have found exciting opportunities. But when people hear we've lived in London, they always ask, don't you miss it? The answer is not really. Belgium and the UK aren't that far from each other, neither are they so different. We've learned we can travel for 1 hour or 2 hours to attend an event or visit our friends. Going to work involved crossing the whole city sometimes. And whenever I set foot at St Pancras International, my eyes sparkle. Once a Londoner, always a Londoner. If you ever consider making the jump, go ahead and do it. You'll never regret that experience, and I think it will open your eyes to so many things. All will be worth it as long as you're doing it in the right conditions, for the right reasons, and at the right time. Wherever you go, I'm sure it's the start of a fantastic adventure, and I can't wait to hear all about it. And that's it, guys. I've read the full Londoners with you, and I hope you enjoyed that reading. And thank you for celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Londoners with me. That was a complete pleasure to do it with all of you. Before we finish this video, I'm gonna say the name of the person who's gonna win this annotated copy. So this is a copy of the Londoners in which I've made notes for this read along, and the person who's gonna win this is Dimitri. So Dimitri, I'm gonna send you an email with the details on how you're gonna get this copy of the Londoners. Congratulations, Dimitri. And for those of you who registered for the read along, I'm gonna send you a little bookmark. Yeah. So thank you everyone for tagging along with me and celebrating my book's birthday, and I will see you next time. Bye.